Hey, my friend, how's your day going? Feeling okay? Or maybe a bit off? If your head's a mess or you just want someone to spin a real story, grab a seat and stick with me for a bit. This one's about love, loyalty, and that razor-thin line between right and wrong in a relationship. I'm Logan, and I've been called the guy who didn't stand by the one I loved all because I chose truth over pretense. Ever had to pick between saving face for someone you care about and standing firm in what you believe? Stay till the end, because I want to know, what would you do if you were in my shoes? Hey, listener, you ready to dive into this? I'm Logan, 29, a software developer who's better at debugging code than navigating drama. My girlfriend, Sophie, is 27, a marketing whiz with a sharp mind and a confidence that lights up rooms. We've been together for a year, and it's been good greet, even. She's got this fiery energy, quick with a comeback, though her temper can flare when things don't go her way. I love her for it, but it's not always smooth sailing. After months of dodging it, I finally decided it was time to introduce her to my tight-knit friend group. Big mistake, maybe. Let's find out. My friends Raquel, Mike, and Tar are like family. We've been through everything. College all-nighters, bad breakups, epic road trips. They're the kind who'd give you their last beer, but call you out if you're acting like a jerk. Sophie had heard about them forever, but I'd held off on the meetup, partly because I was nervous as intense. They're blunt, and I wasn't sure how it'd mesh. But Sophie kept pushing, saying, if they're that important, I want in. So, I set up a dinner at our favorite spot, a laid-back local joint in Denver with killer burgers and a chill vibe. Figured it'd be a safe bet. Spoiler, it wasn't. The night started strong. We snagged a corner booth, beers clinking, laughter flowing. Sophie was on charming mic with her stories about crazy clients, trading travel tips with Tara. I relaxed, thinking, this is gonna work. Then the service hit a snag. Our waiter, a lanky guy who looked like he was juggling too many tables, took forever to bring our apps. Sophie's mood shifted. She sighed loudly, tapped her nails on the table, and when the food finally arrived in minutes Latesh snapped, took long enough. Her tone was sharp, the kind that makes you wince. The waiter mumbled an apology and scurried off. I noticed Rachel's eyebrow go up, but she didn't say anything. Not yet. Sophie kept going, though. When her burger came out slightly overcooked, she rolled her eyes and muttered, of course. She didn't send it back, but her glares at the waiter every time he passed were impossible to miss. Mike tried to lighten the mood, cracking a joke about how we'd all survived worse meals. But Sophie just gave a tight smile, her fork stabbing her fries like they'd personally offended her. Then Rochelle, God bless her, she's never met a filter she liked, leaned forward. Hey, Sophie, she said, her voice calm but pointed. No need to be so hard on the guy, right? He's probably swamped. Bet they're short-staffed tonight. The table went quiet, like someone hit pause on the whole restaurant. Tara coughed into her beer. Mike stared at his plate like it held the secrets of the universe. I froze, my burger halfway to my mouth. Rachel wasn't wrong. The waiter was clearly overwhelmed, and Sophie's attitude wasn't helping. But I knew Sophie wouldn't take it well. Sophie's smile didn't budge, but her eyes turned to ice. Oh, I'm just saying what we're all thinking, she replied, her voice sugary but laced with venom. Service matters, you know. Rachel shrugged, unfazed. Sure, but he's not the chef or the manager, just doing his best. The tension was thick, like you could cut it with a butter knife. I should have said something, cracked a joke, changed the subject, anything. But I didn't. I sat there, silent, because honestly, I agreed with Rachel. Sophie was being rude, and I didn't want to jump in and defend something I didn't believe in. Call it cowardice or principle, but I kept my mouth shut. The rest of the dinner limped along. Sophie stayed charming on the surface, laughing at Mike's stories, complimenting Tara's new tattoo. But I could feel her warmth toward me had cooled. Her hand, usually on my knee under the table, stayed in her lap. When she looked at me, her eyes were distant, like she was sizing me up. My friends didn't seem to notice. Or maybe they just didn't want to poke the bear. We paid the bill, tipped the waiter extra, Rachel's idea, and said our goodbyes in the parking lot. Sophie hugged everyone, all smiles, but as we walked to the car, her silence was deafening. In the car, she stared out the window, her arms crossed. I asked, "You okay?" She turned, her voice low but sharp. "You didn't say a word back there, Logan." Not one. I knew exactly what she meant, and my stomach sank. This wasn't over, not by a long shot. Stick with me, listener. This dinner was just the spark, and the fire's about to spread. The car ride home from the restaurant was a minefield. Sophie's silence filled the space, heavy and sharp, her arms crossed tightly as she stared out the passenger window. Logan's hands gripped the steering wheel, his mind replaying the dinner's awkward moment, Rachel's comment, his own decision to stay quiet. He'd hoped Sophie would cool off, but the second he pulled into their apartment complex and turned off the engine, she exploded. "You didn't say a single word back there, Logan," she snapped, her voice cutting through the dark. "Rachel basically called me out in front of everyone, and you just sat there. Do you know how humiliating that was?" Her eyes blazed, her usual confidence now a weapon aimed at him. Logan took a deep breath, trying to keep his voice steady. "Sophie, I didn't know what to say. You were being hard on the waiter, and Rachel, she wasn't wrong. He didn't deserve that." Sophie's jaw dropped, her face a mix of shock and fury. "So, you're taking her side. Over me. Your girlfriend." She laughed, a short, bitter sound. I was frustrated. "Okay. The service was awful, and I wasn't going to pretend it was fine. But you let your friend make me look like the bad guy. You didn't even try to back me up." Logan felt his chest tighten. He hated this, hated the way her words twisted the truth into something he couldn't untangle. "I didn't want to lie, Sophie," he said. "If you'd been more polite, no one would have said anything. I didn't think jumping in to defend you when you were off would help." "Off?" Sophie's voice rose, trembling with anger. "You think I was off? Logan, a real partner stands by you. In public, you have their back, always. You deal with the rest later. In private, that's what love is. But you let me sit there, humiliated, while your friends probably laughed behind my back." She turned away, her hands clenched into fists. "I thought you were different. I thought you'd choose me." Her words hit like a punch, each one landing on the raw edge of Logan's guilt. He wanted to argue, to say she was blowing this out of proportion, but the hurt in her voice stopped him. Had he chosen his friends over her? Or was he just trying to be honest? Logan tried to explain again. "I wasn't trying to hurt you. I couldn't sit there and act like you were right when I didn't think you were. That's not me, Sophie. I don't play pretend." But his words only fueled her fire. "You don't get it," she shot back. "This isn't about pretending. It's about loyalty. You made me feel alone out there, like I didn't matter. If you can't stand up for me in front of your friends, how am I supposed to trust you with anything else?" She opened the car door and stormed out, leaving Logan sitting in the dark, the weight of her words pressing down. The next few days were Cold War. Sophie stayed at the apartment, but kept her distant short answers. No eye contact, sleeping on the far edge of the bed. Logan tried to act normal, making coffee, asking about her day, but her responses were clipped, her smile gone. His phone, usually buzzing with their playful texts, was silent. He thought about reaching out, but every time he started to type, he stopped. What could he say? He wasn't sorry for staying quiet, still believed Sophie's behavior had been out of line, but he hated how it had fractured them. He felt trapped, caught between his principles and her pain. His friends noticed the shift. Rachel texted, "Everything okay with Sophie?" She seemed pissed. Logan didn't know how to answer. He didn't want to throw Sophie under the bus, but he also didn't want to lie. "Just working through some stuff," he replied, vague and uneasy. Meanwhile, Sophie's silence grew louder. She'd leave for work early, come home late, her usual warmth replaced by a wall Logan couldn't climb. He started to wonder, had he been too rigid? Was standing by his sense of right and wrong worth this? One night, alone on the couch with a beer, Logan replayed the dinner in his head. He saw Sophie's sharp comments, Rachel's blunt response, his own silence. He'd chosen truth over loyalty, thinking it was the right call. But now, staring at the empty space where Sophie used to curl up beside him, he wasn't so sure. What if holding his ground cost him the person he loved? He loved Sophie, her fire, her wit, even her flaws. But love didn't feel like enough when trust was crumbling. He started questioning himself. Was Sophie right? Should he have backed her up, even if he disagreed, to show he was on her team? Or was he right to stay true to what he believed, even if it hurt her? The answers didn't come, just more questions, piling up like dishes in the sink. All he knew was that the distance between them was growing, and neither of them was reaching out to close it. Listener, this is where things get murky. Logan's stuck, and the path forward isn't clear. Stay with Metha's story's not done, and the choices are only getting harder. 3 days of silence were enough. Logan couldn't take the coldness anymore at the way Sophie's eyes avoided his, the way their apartment felt like a stranger's house. He loved her, but love wasn't fixing this. He needed to face it head on, no matter how messy it got. So, on a quiet Wednesday evening, he texted her, "Can we talk? Just us, no distractions. I miss you." Sophie replied with a simple okay, and they agreed to meet at a coffee shop near their place, neutral ground where they could be honest. They sat in a corner booth, the hum of the espresso machine filling the gaps. Logan went first, his voice steady but soft. "Sophie, I love you. I do. But I don't believe in standing by someone I love when they're wrong. I think love means helping each other be better, not pretending to keep the peace. I didn't speak up at dinner because I thought you were out of line, and I couldn't fake agreeing with you. But I hate how this has pulled us apart." He leaned forward, searching her face. "I want us to figure this out, but we have to be real." Sophie's eyes glistened, and for a moment, she didn't speak. Then, her voice broke as she said, "I felt so attacked that night, Logan. It wasn't just Rachel, it was everything. Work was a nightmare that day. My boss tore into me, and I was already on edge. Then I meet your friends, people you love, and I wanted to impress them. But when the service sucked, I snapped. And when Rachel called me out, it felt like they were all judging me, like I didn't belong. I needed you to have my back, and you didn't." Tears spilled down her cheeks, and she wiped them away, her hands shaking. Logan's chest ached. He hadn't known about her day, hadn't seen how much she was carrying. "I'm sorry you felt alone," he said. "I wish you'd told me what was going on. But Sophie, your feelings don't change how you treated that waiter. You chose to act that way, and it wasn't okay. I get being stressed, but that doesn't mean you get a pass to be rude." He wasn't harsh, but he didn't soften the truth either. Sophie nodded, her lips tight, like she was wrestling with his words. They talked for hours, peeling back the layers of that night. Sophie admitted she'd overreacted, not just to the waiter, but to Logan's silence. "I wanted you to defend me because it would have made me feel safe," she said. "But I see now that I put you in a tough spot." Logan shared his side to how he'd felt caught between loyalty to her and his own sense of right and wrong. "I didn't want to betray myself," he said. "But I also didn't want to lose you. I just didn't know how to do both." By the time their coffees were cold, they'd reached a fragile agreement. No more pretending, no more unspoken grudges. They'd be honest, even when it stung. If Sophie was upset, she'd say so before it boiled over. If Logan disagreed with her, he'd speak up, but with care, not silence. It wasn't a perfect fix. Trust was still tender, and they both knew it'd take work. But it was a start, a promise to face things together, flaws and all. Back home, things weren't instantly better. Sophie was still quick to bristle. Logan still wrestled with when to speak or stay quiet. But they tried small steps, like cooking dinner together, laughing over a bad movie, or just sitting on the couch, her head on his shoulder. The distance wasn't gone, but it was shrinking, and that was enough for now. As Logan thinks back on it, he knows this story isn't about a grand happily ever after. It's about the messy, human work of loving someone without losing yourself. He learned that love doesn't mean always picking the same side. It's about having the guts to point out when someone's veering off course, not to win, but to help them find their way back. Sophie's not perfect, and neither is he, but they're choosing to keep going, to keep talking, to keep learning. So, listener, here's my takeaway. Love isn't about blind loyalty or smoothing over wrongs. Sometimes, it's about holding a mirror up to the person you care about, even when it's hard, so you can both grow. Thanks for sticking with me through this. I'm curious, what would you have done at that dinner table? Would you have spoken up or stayed quiet? Whatever your answer, I hope you find your own balance between love and truth.